Crimes edition. I'm here with my sister, attorney at law, Shannon McDonald Goldstein. She came for Heatherfest.
Yes, I did.
But before we enjoy Heatherfest, she came to the office in Calabasas because there are honestly so many crimes to cover. I don't even know if we'll get through it all, but I'm going to go with the first one that is just absolutely shocking. So this Missouri woman, she's only 27. She just got married 2 weeks ago. Her name's Alyssa Jenkins. She got married to her husband, Bradley Jenkins. She lives in Missouri, and she plunged to her death in a parking garage. And here's the craziest part. She was recording what appeared to be a vicious clash with her husband right when it happened. So what happened was they got married 2 weeks ago. I don't know how long they were dating before, but they did get married in Vegas. They're a very cute couple. She's a pretty brunette. He's very fit, could be a little steroidy looking, okay?
I would agree.
And they were at the Cardinals, I guess were playing the Cubs, and they were there, and they were arguing. The call happened, I think, at 1:45 a.m., so he was very intoxicated, but the affidavit said that the husband was agitated and appeared to be intoxicated. So then they found her phone. After they found, so she plunged to her death off like a couple stories parking garage. Obviously she was dead. But they found the phone, and during the recording you can hear her yell for him to quit punching her in the face. She eventually drops the camera. Shortly after that you hear her scream and she falls, and you hear the thump of her body hitting the ground, all on the phone. And at first he claimed that he had never been on the rooftop with her, but the video shows them together on the rooftop right when the video began. He also claimed the argument never got physical, yet on the recording, you hear the argument being physical, the police affidavit said. They say they are continuing the investigation. They did charge him with domestic assault, and he's held on a $100,000 bond, and they're going to determine whether the defendant should be charged with homicide. Obviously, they should. This is interesting. They both worked at the Illinois Department of Corrections.
Well, that would explain why he's the steroidy body.
Yes, and why he's violent. She appeared to be happy in the lead-up video recording, and if her posted photos on social media are any indication, on her Instagram she said, "Last week, because I'd only been married 2 weeks, I married my best friend. Hashtags love of my life, hashtag living my best life." And in December, she posted, "One day someone will love you the way you deserve to be loved, and you won't have to fight for it." That's what she said in December. Makes me think,
use of word.
Makes me think that they were probably an on and off again, volatile type of relationship.
Right.
So the police went to the scene after receiving a 911 call telling them that a woman had fallen from the parking garage. So he didn't call, someone else called. They then found a blood-soaked Bradley on top of his new wife's body, people reported. Her phone was still recording when they found it. And in a grim bit of irony, for her birthday last year, she asked for friends to donate to the organization Future Without Violence. I think we're going to find out that this was a volatile, passionate relationship.
Right.
I bet they've broken up like too many times to count. And, you know, getting married in the Vegas style and everything makes me wonder, you know, the immediacy of it, like just that constant going back and forth.
Do you think that she might have been pregnant?
I know, I was thinking too, maybe she was pregnant.
Right. Well, I mean, I think there's a few things that have to be figured out. Number one, obviously, I'm assuming they would have taken some sort of blood test or forensic blood test on him and on her. So you're curious to see what the toxicology report might be. And then I think that the phone was found on the roof, not with her, is my understanding. I don't know if there was something in the article that said that.
No, I think you're right.
So I guess, but here's what's interesting. So she's recording it, and obviously if she's recording it, then it's either been violent before, so now she needs to document it, because she's probably never called the police before, and now she wants to call the police before. And so now she needs to basically document it, and everybody says that. On the other hand, no one ever says that they see anything violent. They just say that she says, "Stop punching me, stop punching me." So that can also be orchestrated, because everybody knows in today's world, if you record or video or do something, you could also peg somebody. So she could be saying, "Hey, you're not punching me, but you're an asshole, and this time I'm going to get you." There could be two ways of looking at it.
Obviously, this would be the defense. And you're the defense attorney, I'm not. But she was suicidal before. She always threatened, if you break up with me, I'll kill myself. And so they got really drunk. She was acting crazy. She started saying, stop punching me, start punching. And he's like, what are you talking about? And you know, or whatever. Maybe he doesn't have any voice, but he's thinking, what, you know, we just see the video of your, stop punching me, stop punching me. And then, you know, when she couldn't get the reaction she wanted out of him, she was like, you'll see, did a Gone Girl and killed herself with the ultimate framing of this video. That will have to be the defense.
Or the prosecution would say he pushed her. And
Right.
that wouldn't be on the phone either because she's taking a picture of him. It's not I guess they call it a selfie. I'm curious to see, is it her face?
Or
I would really love to
it
look
may
at the
not have
tape.
been her filming him. It might have just been down, just catching, like, you know, it wasn't about the camera, it was catching the audio. She was just trying to get the audio of him being violent with her.
Well, it's interesting because the way they write the article, you get the feeling that it's actually up, that she's not hiding it from him. Whereas maybe with the audio, it would be more like she's hiding from him because she's scared of him. Honestly, what I would do right now is if he is originally arrested, if he has a court, they arrest him for domestic violence, I would not have him bail out. I would have him go to court on that day, and then I would plead him to the domestic violence case as quickly as I possibly could.
Plead the domestic violence, but not say so they could get out of the murder?
Well, yeah, because then I would claim double jeopardy. I would then claim that you already pled, or what we call in California.
But what prosecutor would take that with this kind of evidence? They've got to go for the death.
But they haven't charged with that yet, so you
Oh.
never know. Right now, I mean, obviously, I think it's going to change, and I think we're looking at a murder charge, and I don't think that would be the option. But if it was, then you could say, well, we already pled to something on the same exact circumstances. I mean, of course, because it wasn't like, well, it wasn't we could have charged her with an attempt murder and then she died later. I mean, they have a death and they're charging a domestic violence. So to me, the argument would be that it all is in the same
It's just
occasion.
so sad. Like,
It's
I'm
so
so
sad.
sad. I feel so badly for her. But they're right now questioning their friends and coworkers who were also at the baseball game
Oh, yeah.
to see, like, what the mood was. But 1:45 a.m., how long does a baseball game go on for? Why are they still there at 1:45 a.m.? Like, I mean, I would think the game, everything, I've been to baseball games before, they're kind of wrapped up and you're like in your car latest 11.
Unless there's like a bar or restaurant that's across the street.
So
yeah.
then obviously probably the drinking then continued. It probably started at 5 o'clock.
Right.
And is, going on the 8th hour.
Right.
So
Right.
now let's get into, it's summer. People are planning wonderful summer vacations.
Caribbean vacations?
They want to do international. The Dominican Republic is facing a PR tourism nightmare, and it's really sad. There's now been 3 people dead,
Yes.
2 that almost died that are coming forward, and a woman that was severely beaten and sexually assaulted, all in the Dominican Republic, all within a year. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Let's start going through all of them because there's so many.
So we're going to talk Dominican Republic.
Yes.
There's
and
also
the one resort.
And
So
there's
there's
the one resort. Actually, in the one resort, I think we have 3 deaths and 2 almost deaths because now 2 other people have come forward.
Right.
So first the deaths, and this all happened at the end of May, and apparently they all happened about 5 days apart from each other. So Heather, if you could maybe, if you have
the
in
name,
front.
Yeah, the name of the resort.
The name of the resort is the Bahia Principal La Romana. The Bahia Principal La Romana is the name of the resort. And the people that passed away,
Was a couple.
it was a couple. There's also a female. There's a female.
Which one happened first? The girl happened.
The girl happened first. So there's a 41-year-old woman. Her name is, I want to say, Miranda Schwab Werner. She's only 41. think there is some claim that maybe she might have not been healthy, but I'm not sure about that. And
they said the husband did say she had a heart condition.
Okay.
But this is very strange. So he was with her in the room.
Right.
And she went to just have something out of the minibar.
Right.
What was it? A Coke and something else?
She said a soda. She grabbed an alcohol and soda. They had just arrived, so they just unpacked. And she was like, "Oh, I'll have a drink." So she grabbed it out of the minibar. And then pretty quickly, he might have been in the other room or whatever in the bathroom. And pretty quickly she starts yelling out, saying something like, "I'm having a hard time breathing. Something's happening. I don't know what's going on." And literally by the time he was able to come to her and call whoever, she, I don't know if she essentially was passed out, but by the time they got to the hospital, she passed.
Then the paramedics came, didn't know what it was, so they gave her the allergic shot, the, what do you call the EpiPen?
Right.
That, didn't do anything. Then by the time she got to the hospital, she was declared dead. So that was like, heart attack or pulmonary something.
Well, they definitely said, I think an enlarged heart. I think the autopsy report is, still unclear. And also,
who's going to believe what Dominican Republic autopsy? I'd be like, no, take the body to America.
Right.
But at this point, they're the first ones.
Right.
So he might just be devastated and be like, oh, my God, she did have a heart murmur. She did have this or that. And, he didn't know that he was the first of many. And now I'm sure he's probably like, wait a minute, maybe there's more to this. He's probably super sad and accommodating at the time. If now if you heard that your friend died at this place yesterday, you'd be like, holy shit, stop, you're number 5. But at this time, she was victim number 1, kind of. That we knew about.
And I'm curious. I'm assuming that they flew the body back for proper burial procedures. Let's hope so, and let's hope they didn't either leave the body there or cremate it, because obviously then that would not allow someone else to give a different opinion of an autopsy. Because all they would be looking at an autopsy report. So all of the things...
then go to the next couple.
Oh, the next couple. 5 days later, we have this nice couple, Edward Holmes, who's 63, and then Cynthia Day, 49. They're also found dead in their room. And they had complained to the resort doctors at the Bahia Principal that they felt ill. And apparently, at least the preliminary autopsy reports showing here show that all 3 showed that they each had enlarged hearts, suffered respiratory failure, and the couple had fluid in their lungs. But and I'm not obviously my medical background, now an enlarged heart could be from a prior illness or diagnosis or a precondition, but it can also be from the cause of death. So we don't really know what that is. And could that be an allergic reaction? Sure, but could that also be poison, which it sure sounds to me like it might be, or some sort of... Now, here's the interesting thing, and I'm going to segue here, and I think you're looking at it. So then these are unfortunately resulting in deaths.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now these people, now the stories are out. You've probably heard about this for the last week. So this just came out yesterday. The truth needs to be told. A couple recalls of violent sickness at a resort where 3 Americans are found dead in a week. So a man and a woman from Colorado say their stories add to the horror stories about this same place. So they traveled to the La Ramona Resort last year.
Which is the same resort.
Same resort.
Right.
And started feeling sick upon returning to their room after, after they went to an outing. So they come back from their room after an outing. We were drooling excessively of the couples to the Grand Bahia Principe Resort. My eyes would not stop watering. Upon returning to a stench in the room that smelled as if someone had dumped paint anywhere is what they both said they remember smelling.
Right.
The couple reportedly contacted staff to switch rooms. But they say the damage was already done and their symptoms rapidly intensified. That night, we both woke up soaked in sweat at 4 a.m. and kind of terrified. They woke up and flew home early, she said. I felt like a chainsaw was going through my gut of the pain. Upon arriving back in the States, both were reportedly diagnosed with organ phosphate poisoning, often linked to chemicals found in insecticides, and they have a $1 million lawsuit against the resort, which has not been settled. She said she's speaking out now in light of 3 recent deaths reported at the same resort. Um,
And was this about a year before that this actually happened? Did they have a date on when that occurred?
Said.
I think it was.
Last year. They just said last year.
Yeah.
They didn't say the date in this report.
But enough for them to file a lawsuit and try to see what's happening.
So she said the truth needs to be told. It sounds way too similar at the same resort. So then this other woman comes forward. Okay, go ahead.
I have this one in front of me, and this lady is, her name is,
I have it right here. Her name is the woman and her husband. Okay, so...
Well, I think it was with her ex-boyfriend, this one.
Okay.
And I apologize.
All right, wait, here we go. Hold on. I'll read it. Okay, so the Dominican resort.
Oh, it's Awilda Montes.
Okay.
And same resort.
Uh-huh.
But what I find interesting, she says that she vomited blood after drinking soda from a minibar at Dominican Republic, which is very similar to Miranda, the first person that passed away, saying where she drank something.
Oh, you're reading a different one.
There's another one?
Wait, I was going to get to the girl that was beaten in Dominican Republic.
No. I'm going to...
Okay, so read... Okay, go back.
We're still talking about
So
the
there's another person that got sick but didn't die. Now, what's her story?
Okay, her story is very similar
to the couple.
To the first woman that drank from the minibar.
Okay.
And the couple.
Okay, what's this girl's story?
Then she says she started feeling sick.
After she drank what?
After she drank a 7-Up.
Okay.
And then... this is what's really interesting. She vomited blood and had chemical burns inside her mouth, which required medical treatment. She thought she had mistakenly drank bleach that was left behind housekeeping. So I wouldn't, which is weird, because unless you would think, if you're opening up a 7-Up can, I would assume you'd think it's a 7-Up can.
Unless you poured it in a cup, and the cup, then there were a couple cups, and somehow there was bleach in a cup that wasn't removed from the room, and she thought, wait a minute, did I not, maybe she was wasted and picked up a glass.
But the fact that it's like a chemical burn,
yes,
and the smell is very similar to the couple that survived, but were able to get off this Dominican Republic, the country. So now it's kind of interesting is when you put this all together, it, is somebody targeting U.S. people that are traveling? Could this be a terrorist threat in a very weird roundabout way? When I was talking about this with somebody brought that up, which is really super scary. But if you think about it, because then it looks like, well, it's really the hotel, right? Or is it? I don't think that, but somebody had mentioned that. So, and then she makes some
what
reference.
happened? So she went to the hospital, and what happened to her?
Now she's like, she either she talked about it, or she probably just thought it was just something really, really horrible, but maybe a mistake, like bleach that a housekeeper had left. But now that she's seeing these similar explanations that are resulting in death, and the only reason the other couple really survived was because they were smart enough to say, get me off this island, because the Dominican Republic, because basically they had to get back to the United States, because what was happening is this other couple had changed rooms, and that wasn't helping, and the pain was really so I'm not saying that that's what it is, but it makes you kind of wonder, is it
is it just like some weirdo that's like putting weird stuff in the minibar and taking a rum bottle and emptying it with a poison and putting the cap back on it and just having fun? But remember how there was that urban myth we found out later that when we were kids, don't eat the candy at Halloween because people are putting razor blades in the candy.
in the apples. And
in candy bars and everything too. And then they found out, no, that never had ever happened. It was a complete urban myth. So, it does seem very weird that someone would be randomly doing this in rooms and just being like, oh, I hope I read about another person that drops dead. It's very strange.
Well, so do you think people are just making this up for the
15
minutes of fame?
Nobody's making it up. I don't know. I think it could be a number of things.
Well, it could be.
I think it could be a couple things, and coincidentally, 3 of the people were at this resort, or 4 of the people were at the resort. But
they're all United. I think and I'm not trying to alarm anybody, but they're all U.S. citizens. As opposed to another country.
Okay.
And then I'm going to talk a little bit about this other couple who unfortunately passed away last month from a mysterious illness again in Fiji.
Okay, what's that story?
So they actually said that they had been throwing up for 8 hours prior to be rushing to a local doctor. They called their family. They said their hands went numb.
Now, were they at like a fancy resort as well?
Yes.
Where they were like
so.
inclusive and they were drinking and eating whatever they gave them?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I think that, yes, that was true, but I don't know if the actual story of what they had done that day ever came out because, unfortunately, they passed. So I don't know how they spent their day, but yes.
Okay.
And they said they were going to go to the doctor, and the diarrhea and numbness, and, basically they just gave them fluids and an anti-nausea drip, which would be the people from Fiji.
So when did they die? In Fiji or when they got home?
No, they died in Fiji.
Oh my God.
And this was about a month ago.
But it was the same type of thing, like feeling like sick to your stomach.
Right. Well, they said they ruled out, influenza or flu. And apparently they were going to go to their room, and then they returned to the hospital where she died on May 27th, and her 37-year-old husband died 2 days later. This is a Texas couple.
Oh my God.
And then she was clammy and sweaty. They couldn't revive her. Not long after, my brother ended up in the hotel. Then later on that day, we went back to the hospital. He got released again, and we thought he would be able to come home. And shortness of breath, so then it goes to respiratory. And that was actually that's all they have, and that's all I know so far on that one. So anyway, who wants to go to the Dominican Republic?
Wait, now here's the girl that was physically attacked.
Yes, and this is actually also a different hotel, though, I believe, yes?
Well, a different hotel, but it's in Dominican Republic. So a Wilmington resident nabbed international headlines last week when she came forward with the details of the attack in a Facebook post. She said after months of healing both mentally and physically, she was ready to share her story as a warning to others. Lauren Staley is her name, and
Right.
she and her husband had
Tammy.
enjoyed a night of 80s dancing with their friends.
Sounds
In
fun.
the hours before she was attacked, they returned to their rooms at the Majestic Elegance, so a different hotel, around 10:30. But she'd worked up an appetite dancing and opted to go grab a snack. That's when I heard it, heavy footsteps, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then they sped up, and then before I could react, I was plowed into from behind and immediately immobilized, adding that she was strangled multiple times to unconsciousness. My lifeless body was dragged down the stairs to an underground waste water area. I was kicked in the head, I was beaten with a club, and then strangled me for the kill. And then it said there's a lot of conjecture about the case, a lot of information that doesn't match some of the statements, says the guy, the Dominican investigator. We have to wait for the investigation to end. He did not clarify which aspects of her account are at odds with the information they've uncovered, but the Majestic Elegance said it was cooperating with authorities. The authorities investigating the case understand that the scenario is still unclear, but there are weak points. Okay, well, she also said her attacker, who appeared to be wearing a resort uniform at the time, then left her for dead in a crawl space underneath the resort. Her husband and friends found her there, bloody and swollen, nearly 8 hours later. So the authorities learned of the attack and went to the hospital where she was there recovering. They took her testimony and also recovered evidence from the scene. We had to force them to do a rape kit, and that didn't happen until 48 hours later. And even at that point, it was an external swab. That was it, she said. So they clearly just want to cover this up.
Well, yeah.
And adding that she's still unsure whether or not she's been sexually assaulted during the attack because she was hit in the head. She also told authorities that she was also told authorities would not investigate unless she testified in local court, which she managed to do before flying back home. But after a 3-month investigation and a failed attempt to negotiate an out-of-court settlement, the resort's insurance company said Majestic Elegance bore no responsibility in the case, especially because Lawrence Daly was unable to identify her attacker.
Well, we're not talking the United States here either.
Yeah.
So
Lawrence Daly and her husband have claimed from the start that authorities botched the investigation and have not provided a police report they said was filed at the time of the incident. Also, I read that they didn't even, and this is not in this article, but they didn't get any amount taken off of their bill.
Yes, that was a story.
I mean,
ridiculous.
Their medical bills were not covered.
Covered, yeah.
Nothing. So the spokesperson said to the news station during the interviews that there's discrepancies and all that, and the husband said this is absolutely crazy. I mean, and you see the photo of the woman, I mean, beat to a bloody pulp. I mean, she was missing for 8 hours.
Right.
She woke up in the ditch. She was clearly left for dead because she heard her name being called.
Right.
You know, and it's like, it's a nice resort and you're hungry. Couldn't you walk down the hall to like a vending machine? Apparently you would think that no, you can't. Not as a woman alone. Like, you're just dumb if you do. You're dumb if you're on your vacation and you go and get something to eat by yourself, even in a resort. I mean, most people say you're safe, just don't leave the resort. Don't go get in some cab and go downtown to the funkiest taco joint.
And I agree with that. They shouldn't have responsibility.
You shouldn't do that either, but you should also be able to, like, go get a coffee by yourself or go get something to eat on the resort. But it's like, my question is, what if you are sitting at home listening to Juicy Scoop? And if you are, then you already know about these stories because you're smart people. Well, and if you don't feel bad because it's sad stuff, so you might want to escape. But you have your vacation planned, not only in the Dominican Republic, but at the place where the 3 people died. And you're bringing your family, and it's your wedding. I mean, what about those people? What the fuck do you do? What if it's your wedding, and now you're still like, I'm down to do it. You know, I've talked to the people, blah, blah. Your relatives are going to want to come. I mean, I'd be terrified to eat or drink one thing at that place.
No, I would hope that there's like a 72-hour or 30-day cancellation policy, and I would exercise it. And if I couldn't, I would let it go.
Or other people that are just badasses that are like, you know what? I didn't have enough money to go on a summer vacation. I'm calling this place because they must be giving these rooms and deals away, and we're going to go and be like, still alive, like. I mean, really, you know, I mean, it's so bad. I'm going on a cruise to Puerto Rico, and, you know, you hear about things all the time on cruise ships. Numerous people have died. It's a perfect place to, like, kill your wife or something, because it's like once they're in that water at 2 a.m, nobody even knows they went overboard. We do have a balcony.
And there's always so many sicknesses on cruise ships, too. It's like, you know.
That's why when Peter had that one beer before we got on the last cruise, and you're supposed to fill out this form, quick thing to answer before, because it was Canadian, so we were in Canada, and they said to me, you can fill out the kids, but each adult has to fill out their own. So I did the 3 kids and myself, and Peter had like this Canadian beer that, I don't know, got him wasted. It was like not that big, but he was like real happy, and he was like, woo! And I fill out the stuff for the kids, and he fills it out, and then all of a sudden they look at them and they're like, we need a quarantine. I'm like, what? They surround us. They're like quarantine. They put us in an area with separating us from everybody else. And
you and Peter separated.
And the kids. No, they separate our family.
The whole family, yeah.
And the rest of the family is there going, what is going on? And they're like, so you had diarrhea this past week? To Peter. And he's like, no. Well, he didn't read it. And it's like, have you had diarrhea? And it was just like, yes.
Oh, my God. That's so funny.
And so then Brandon starts to cry, because at the time he was like 8 or something, or 9. He's like, we're not going to go on the vacation. And I'm like, I'm ready to leave his ass in Canada. Like, we are not missing out. And then he's starting to get pissed, like, well, let me just redo it. Let me just change it. And
right.
Like,
no,
this is official papers. Yeah. You cannot change it. You know, now we have to take everyone's temperature. We have to make sure no one has a fever, because they don't want it, like, no. They don't want someone coming in with a flu or diarrhea or anything that could be contagious, or on a boat.
Right.
We got on, but so now we're ready to go to Puerto Rico, and I'm like, I said, I'm not dealing with you. I'm taking the kids separately. I want all of our passports in my possession, because when you act weird and they don't let you on the boat, I just don't care what's going to happen. But we went on the boat. We had a good time. But and no one did get sick. But thank God they are that strict about it, you know?
Right. No, this is really, really frightening. And I think one of the worst things about this very significant assault and battery is that now the articles that are coming out, they're making it sound like she's either not telling the whole story, like she would have done this to herself, so they can basically skew responsibility away from the hotel. And I'm looking at one article here that says Dominican Republic resort claims this woman, Tammy Lawrence Daly, demanded $2.2 million before going public. Well, because my guess is that she was trying to settle something out of court.
Right.
They obviously denied it, and then at that point in time, why wouldn't she go public? Because quite frankly, they're not giving her anything. But the way the article is written, or the headline is written, it sounds like it's some sort of extortion. Like, I'm going to go public if you don't pay me, even though you did nothing wrong. And it's crazy what people do to try to get out of something, because you just have to look at her. It's not like she beat herself up.
Right.
And whether it was a resort employee or not, at least in the United States, you would still have responsibility for what happened on your resort, like just what you said. So it's
so
scary.
The resort is saying about the two different cases of death, the two people and the one woman, that it followed all security protocols. There's no indication of any connection between the two cases. The resort further said that the woman who's had her husband indicated that she did have a history of heart condition, which we said, and that she was treated for a heart condition 15 years ago, but had not had more recent issues. Well, then that's not a heart condition.
That's not really, yeah, there's been no issues.
15 years is not a heart condition.
And a rum and coke is supposed to put you over the edge. I mean, there's
she had
something
seemed
more.
seemingly healthy. He was not aware of anything going on with the health. And tourism obviously is a key part of their economy.
I would like to know what room number all these people were in.
Yeah, like, or if it's all the same floor. Or the same, even the same section of a big resort,
right?
Like
or
that.
even like even the same building. You have to kind of wonder.
Well, here it said, oh my God, 48 Americans have died in the Dominican Republic between 2016 and 2018.
Oh my gosh,
That's 2 a month.
Let's not go to the Dominican
That's
Republic.
2 a month.
Hey, you should tell all your listeners, if you have planned a trip to the Dominican Republic.
Jeez, I feel
cancel
so
it
badly
now.
for anybody that was planning on going there.
I don't care.
According to statistics
Just
available,
stay alive.
the statistics which do not include deaths from natural causes include deaths from drownings, homicide, suicide, vehicular, or other accidents.
That's all. The 48 were not from natural causes?
No, they're everything. They're
including
suicide,
everything.
their death, their murder, their drownings, their
Wow.
car accident. Like 3 deaths in May happened a few months after a car crash. After a car crash killed 2 others. So 2 people died in a car crash before, but that really shouldn't be part of it.
Right.
Another guy was found at sea. Oh God.
Are you excited about your trip?
Well, I'm not going there, but I mean, it would really suck if we were going there. I mean, about if you're going to the exact place, it would really suck.
Maybe you could get an upgrade.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying, like, what would you do now? Like, if you were planning on going, would you really try to, like, swindle a deal? Like, Peter would be like, yeah,
Peter would.
We need the biggest suite. We're going to do a bunch of Instagram photos saying we're still alive, and we're going to do, like, a daily, like, Insta story of, like, we're alive. No, but I mean, I wonder if anybody will still go, but, like, try to get a deal, or I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, this might be the best time to go to this place.
Oh my God, I would never.
Because it'd really be
I don't care. If you could, pay me.
This is what I think. I do think there's some psychopath that's doing something. They're either like housekeeping, or they have keys to these rooms and they're doing something. They're putting something in the vent or in the...
Yeah, but then how do you know you're going to be protected? And the fact that they seem to be targeting...
You don't. I'm saying I'm not
tourists,
going. I'm just trying to figure out different scenarios of what it might be. All right,
Yeah.
You have some juicy stuff about cults that you'd like to join.
Well, I was just thinking about the whole cult thing, and it kind of started with this whole Roy Jeff's suicide, and just
explain that, because I don't know anything about this. So start from the beginning,
okay.
Or people don't know.
So, and when I say a cult, yes, we're kind of talking about or cult personality or something that would have to do with a religion. So this particular one is the FLDS, which is the Latter-day Saints, but the fundamental Latter-day Saints. And the story behind the fundamental Latter-day Saints is that they basically broke off and continued polygamy at a time when the Latter-day Saints, like back in like the 1800s or early 1900s, basically agreed not to have polygamy because they weren't being recognized by the United States government, because obviously polygamy is against the law.
Mm-hmm.
But the FLDS sort of broke off on this, and so one of the things they did was polygamy. Well, what happened is over the years, they'd have these, for lack of a better word, ruler or leader.
Yeah.
Okay. And, you know, we know about Brigham Young and obviously the first guy whose name escapes me right now. But so at the time, their leader was a man by the name of Warren Jeffs.
Oh, yes. So I know about Warren Jeffs.
Okay. Well, if you know about Warren Jeffs, what had happened was somewhere in, I want to say early 2000s, and I'm not exactly sure how it all came out, but basically he ultimately was married numerous times, had dozens of children, and then toward the end, before he was ultimately arrested and convicted, he was married to a couple 14-year-old girls and 12-year-old girls, and there were pictures of him kissing someone that clearly looked 12, 13, and 14, and possibly doing other things. And basically the United States government got involved, and they said that's not okay, and basically that's child rape and pornography.
Right, and that's when they, like, infiltrated their compound where he had, I don't know, 20 wives and all these young girls. Right. And since people have come out and several books have been written, several interviews have been done of what it was like to be raised in that. Right. And, I mean, they basically just threw the boys away. They'd throw them away. They'd literally, like, put them in a car and just, like, drop them off on the side of the road of Utah and be like, fend for yourself. Because you're not going to get a wife, and now you're old, so goodbye. Right. And that was really horrible. And then, of course, the girls were forced into marriage, raped, everything.
Right.
Okay, so then...
And it was kind of like their own, like, little town. And the interesting story behind that is I was watching a show, kind of what has happened to these fundamentalist people that still quite believe, that very much believe that their leader, their savior, is Warren Jeffs.
And he's in prison now.
And he's in prison. He's going to be in prison for the rest of his life.
Right.
But, of course, you know, they see that as just their leader, their religious leader, being persecuted, not unlike Jesus Christ, for example. So in this particular case, what had happened is one of his sons was this boy by the name of Roy Jeffs. Okay. And the story kind of behind it was, well, Warren wasn't a big fan of Roy, you know. Again,
they hated the boys.
They don't, at least this particular boy.
Well, if you're the leader and you're going to have, 20 wives, that doesn't leave a lot of other wives for the boys.
Right. And it wasn't even just that. He just, the talk is he just sort of disregarded him, thought he was a bad boy, would treat him as a bad boy, put him almost in hiding places. Okay. But in addition to that, he finally came out and said, I was sexually assaulted by my father.
Oh, okay.
So at like 6, he was sexually assaulted. But he never told that story. So he finally escaped at after living through this brutality of just not the sexual assault, but also essentially being shunned, ignored, and still having to live in this small town. Probably was not ever married.
It wasn't a town, it was like a compound. They had big walls around the whole thing, remember?
Yeah, but I think but I think it was actually...
I don't even know if they, went to stores and stuff.
They basically took care... It was a compound in the sense that there was no way... I mean, they had their own, maybe,
school
little hospital,
and all that.
School, but but they basically just, everything goes to the religion, and they also take care of each other, and that's...
So when did he leave?
He left in 2014.
And how old was he in 2000?
21.
Okay, and then what happened?
In 2016, he basically told his story.
Okay.
I was sexually assaulted. My guy's a nightmare. By that time, his dad had already been in prison since 2011, I believe. And I just think you tell your whole story, but when you have a lifetime of just this abuse,
right,
and neglect, and I'm not sure how he did it, but I think we all know why. And so it's kind of all come out now that he committed suicide, and it just...
When did he commit suicide?
He committed suicide about a week ago.
Where was he?
2 weeks ago. I'm guessing it was interesting. The one article I said, he kind of said he was traveling all over the place to evade law enforcement. So I'm not sure if he was committing crimes himself, or he felt like because he was associated with this group that he would never be able to really fit in anywhere. I'm not really sure where that came from. But yeah, just very recently he did, and also look, the reality of it is your life is this religion. And obviously there are a lot of people, the people that you would consider your brothers and sisters, that still believe that your dad is not a criminal. And then you're coming out and telling all these awful things. So who is your community? You've lost your community, you've lost your father, where do you fit in? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I would think a lot of that sort of happened there. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and then I started, there's been some shows on A&E has a show, and ID Discovery has a show about various different, what you would call cults. You've talked a lot about Scientology, but I think there was another kind of brought up the Children of God, Jehovah's Witnesses. There have been a lot of, is this a religion? Is this a cult? Is this what they call a cult in personality? Because if it's a religion that's really, really, really huge, it can't really be considered a cult, some people say.
Right.
So all of this is going down.
Like if it's as big as Scientology or Jehovah's Witnesses, that can't really be a cult because it's so large.
Right. So when all of this is kind of happening, the other day I'm reading the newspaper, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners have read about this, but there's another religion that's based in Mexico called La Luz Del Mundo, and their leader, or apostle, or whatever you want to call, everybody has their own name for it, is a man by the name of Garcia. Well, all of a sudden, now this is a very large religion that I guess is pretty much international. Started in Mexico, obviously has come to the United States. In fact, when reading both of my newspapers and my local paper, there's actually two churches in Coachella Valley of this particular religion. One is in Palm Springs of about 100 members, and one is in Coachella Valley, which is the east end of the desert, with 200 members. And I think they sort of behave and act in a way that would probably be very similar to the Latter-day Saints or FLDS, in the sense that they're very Amishy, nipped up, very conservative. In dress. I don't know. Obviously, they're going to say that it's based in Christianity, but now what has happened is this guy has been arrested for human trafficking, child pornography, and rape. And
the leader.
Yes, and apparently it all started. The tip-off.
Is the leader in Mexico or in America?
He's now in America because he was arrested in America.
Okay.
And they want the bail to go up to like $500,000 because he just started a church in the Congo. So, he's a flight risk if ever there was one, right? And so if you could run to the Congo and maybe
So what does he look like?
Well, here's a picture. Oh,
and
here are all
we'll post the photo.
Here are little Guatemalans praying for him, going, our leader. But there he is down below. You can see a picture right there.
Oh, my God.
He's like 51-year-old, kind of,
This looks like just a 51-year-old, like a little bit heavy set Mexican guy.
Hispanic man, yeah, who has kids and a wife, and of course is all saying this is another persecution. But some of the stories that have come out is that he has... he has co-defendants. So 3 women in their 20s and 30s, and I don't think it's his wife, who are essentially bringing these young girls and saying, you need to, 12 and 13, you need to get naked and bring him, coffee, nude, and this is, you will be saved by God or whatever. So there's these stories, very, very young.
And those 2 women have been arrested as well.
Yeah, well, 3 women have been arrested, but only 2 actually showed up. One is out on a warrant. She's wherever she is. So they have actually charged them too. So it's so interesting. Oh yeah, but it's like when I thought about human trafficking, I thought, oh, human sex trafficking, right? Well, immediately I was talking to two Hispanic ladies that were kind of following the story. One was, and she goes, oh yeah, this is all the Mexican drug lords. This is all about, trafficking is all about drugs. So it's all the drugs. So the drug problems that we're having in Mexico is essentially being infiltrated through something called a religion, and then bringing the girls in. Maybe they're also bringing in the drugs. It's not just sex trafficking, is what they said. I go, really? I go, oh yeah. This is what it's all one big, huge, and they're using, these bad people essentially are using religion, and this particular religion was kind of a cult in personality, but none of the problems that happened until, this is the story that's so interesting, is that somebody reached out and gave a tip like a couple years ago on an online reporting sexual predators thing, which is so interesting because years ago we never had that. So now there's a way for someone to report it. That tip obviously led to an investigation, and here we are. So, is that a tip because somebody, doesn't like Mr. Garcia, or is this all pretty based in fact? And I'm guessing that it's probably not just one little lie. And
what's the theme
sure
of the
it'll
religion?
grow.
Just intense Christianity. And
Yeah,
he's
no,
like,
and community,
and Jesus speaks to him directly.
And Jesus speaks to him directly, and this is our leader, and this is, and you know, he's. I want to know a little bit more about this religion because, quite frankly, I was never that familiar with it. But I think it's a lot about community, purity. You know, I mean, here's the sad thing.
I mean, it just sounds exactly, you know, the two biggest ones that you think of a cult leader was the one in Texas.
Right.
What was that? The
horrible one where he made them all drink poison. And
no,
committed
that's
suicide.
not. That's Jonestown.
Yes.
That's Jonestown, where they left America and went to a place.
Oh, right. That's
and he made them all drink the poison.
Right.
But I don't know that he was. I don't know that guy from Jonestown was having sex and molesting the children. The David Carafe, was that his name? David, the one in Texas where they tried Carafe, and they tried to get him out of their compound, and they
the W town.
Yes.
Wazo, not Wazo.
No, Waco.
Waco, thank you.
When they found out that their compound had collected all these guns because they were literally getting guns delivered through like UPS or something, and the UPS guy finally like alerted someone like, I've delivered 100 guns to this place, and that's when our government got involved and wanted them to leave, and then the place caught on fire and they all died. It was really horrible. But I believe David, definitely that leader, was acting like he was direct descendant of Jesus, and that was a lot of sexual stuff and multiple sexual partners. I don't know if they were all over 18, but it was regardless, women were being used.
Right. Well, I think it's this idea of these people saying that they're essentially mimicking Christianity in the sense of they are taking over the human role of Jesus Christ, and they're mimicking it, but obviously they're not Jesus Christ and they're not God. But what they're doing is, I think when you think about religion, I think the hardest thing about faith is that you have to believe with your heart and not your eyes. And I think when somebody has the manipulation and the wherewithal to tell somebody, I am the body of what you want to see, God has spoken to me, it makes someone who wants to believe in something much more easier because it gives them that step to spirituality. Because the reality of it is, it can be very hard to believe in something that you can't see. You can't actually see the works. You can't see the people doing it. And that's why when we talk about the story, when we talk about Jesus Christ, it was such a miracle because they saw him do miracles.
Well, I remember at our Catholic school, I remember one time I said to a teacher, I remember this so clearly, and I'm like, well, how do we know that Jesus is the one?
Yeah.
And she goes, well, just think about how many people have come after him saying that they're it, and nobody remembers them. But he's the only one we remember. And I was like, oh, that's sort of interesting. But yeah, that anyone can just start to say, oh my God, Jesus, speak to me. And you find people from Charles Manson to...
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, they are evil. I mean, the point of the matter. But
so where is this now? Where is this case now? So he is in American prison. This guy.
Literally, it's the first stages. He's pleading not guilty, setting it for your typical court appearances out. He's not going anywhere, so they're probably going to be waiving time. But they're obviously. But there's a lot of prayer. There's a lot of people praying because apparently, this is a religion and it's huge and it's all over international. It's based in Mexico. And there's a lot of people that are feeling devastated, and how are they going to function? And I think the hardest thing, and kind of what happened with the whole FLDS thing, is that when Warren Jeff went into state prison, and what has happened is that what he did is he left all of these people that in a town that they can barely take care of themselves, but yet they still have their allegiance to him.
Right.
So what's happening is these
he sought in Jonestown. He sought out people that were not highly educated, that were poor.
Right.
Just giving them hope, and then said, "Let's get the hell out of here. Give me everything you've got."
Yeah.
Which for some people wasn't that much, but maybe it was like $6,000 or something. And that's when they all went to, I forgot where they ended up, but some other place. But God, Jonestown, that's a crazy story, the worst.
Well, the worst. But I think, and what happened here, and a little bit you can read a little bit as you're reading it, is that it's true. There's a lot of, they call it a cult and personality, and what are they preying on? And they're preying on poor people that don't have anything else, and all they have is community, and then community is going to get them through that, paying their bills or helping them out. I mean, the idea of helping a community in a religious way, and I'm going to talk about like Mormonism and Latter-day Saints, is amazing. I mean, when you think about what they do, they go on their mission and how they help people and how the community and how they rise above it. And
no,
how
I think that's why they're so successful in business too,
Totally.
because they have to deal with so much rejection. For 2 years, they have to like try to recruit people
Right.
and knock on doors, and
Right.
they have to keep going. So then I think once they're done with that, and they start a business or they're in sales, it's like they just don't give up, and that's why they often make really successful business people, Mormons.
So I think there's a lot of good things about what these religions, you may not believe in what they believe in, but you can't really argue with the fact that community is beautiful. So then you'll have these people that are maybe not so great, but they'll go, oh, I can exploit this whole community thing, and whatever you want to call it, La Luz or FLDS or whoever, you just base on what these people believed in, whether it's Christianity and the basis of Christianity, and then you just make it more present.
Yeah.
By having an actual leader in front of you and somebody.
And it's funny if you don't have the answer, but do you know where we are with the Nexium?
Well, it's so interesting you say that because...
Also, isn't Nexium like a product to keep your dog from sneezing or something?
I thought Nexium was like a skincare product that was a multi-level marketing.
I don't know. But anyway, this Nexium, what is the latest on that? Because I know the girl from Smallville is now testifying, and she...
What's the girl's name?
Can you look that up, Kelly? Are you there? The Nexium girl from Smallville. And whatever the latest is on that. Because I know the last I read was she has admitted that she tried to recruit people for him. Allison Mack. That she's admitted that she did try to recruit people and everything. But by her, admitting and not fighting it, she's going to do time. They said she's going to do... Can you look up what the latest is? She's going to do time, but... of course, she's also going to help the prosecution with their real person.
Which is the main guy.
Yeah, which is the main guy, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because when I was looking into all of this, and I
also the girlfriend, his girlfriend or his wife or some woman that was with him at a time, she's testifying too.
So, and I'm sorry that I don't have this name, but Elizabeth Varga is doing this thing on A&E, and I was watching one of this where they put in all of these people that have come from what they consider cults. And one of them was this Nexium lady. And I want to say the last name was like Smallwood or something like that. She's got dark hair. And she had only left Nexium, and I'm not sure what the date on this particular show was, but she'd only been out of the cult for only like 9 or 10 months. But one thing that she had talked about was, she was a recruiter. She brought a lot of people in. She thought she was going in to get a tattoo, and they actually branded her.
Right. Oh, that was the girl that kind of broke the whole story.
Yes. So that's the one that broke the whole story. So I'm listening to this, and I'm not sure where we are in the
trial.
The timetable. Yeah. But at least she is now speaking, and was speaking with other people from other cult-ish or cults. I believe there was the Jehovah's Witness, and there was the FLDS, and another person, like another kind of Islam sort of cult, but not Islam. It's another kind of cult that were basically, they threw these kids and made them work hard labor. But she was talking about, and I almost found it kind of comical, but in a horrible way, but she goes, I was branded, and she goes, and with the special brand of Nexium or whatever, and then she found out, and you couldn't even read what the brand was, but then she found out later that it's actually the leader's initials, Kevin something. So in the show, she's like, I have this guy's initials on my coochie. His initials, like, and now I can't do anything about it.
Catherine Oxenberg, who was an English woman who also did American television. Her daughter got sucked into it. She was on several shows. She wrote a book, which I did not read, but her last interview on Megyn Kelly, before Megyn Kelly said it was okay to be blackface on Halloween, she had a show, and she said she had her on for like the second time, and then now he was arrested, and now her daughter is coming back around. But even then, the daughter was like pissed that she was still talking about it. She's like, well, I can't really answer that. My daughter doesn't want me to say. But basically, she had to be careful about what she said about her daughter, because there was a good chance that she could indicate her daughter as a criminal.
Of
because
course, of the recruiting.
In one of her stories that she said, the daughter came home after it and was calling, inviting all of her girlfriends that, like, Catherine knew from high school, like, as her daughter's growing up, you got to come check out this thing, this women empowerment thing. And then Catherine, knowing that it was a bad place, then after the daughter left, like, literally called all the girls and was like, no matter what you do not follow my daughter into this horrible situation.
Right.
So by saying all that and sharing all that, they're like, oh shit, Catherine Oxenberg's daughter is a little bit of a recruiter as well.
Right.
So I think then she kind of has backed off of it all.
Well, yeah, because she's
kind of indicating that her daughter was criminal too.
Well, you also want to get as many people as possible to go after this guy. I think that's the idea, and I'm assuming the prosecution's going to offer some sort of immunity to all these people if they do come in. But what was the basis of that?
Right.
Because they were all actors and actresses, right?
Yes. Well, the thing is that Allison Mack would reach out to people on Twitter and things. Mm-hmm. She did it to Kelly Clarkson. She did it to a bunch of people. She did it to Stephanie Wilder, who's a friend of mine. She's a comedian and a very popular podcaster. And I remember when she posted, when this broke, she, like, I think she went into her Twitter, remembered it, screen grabbed it, had it. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, hey, Stephanie, I really think you'd, like, benefit from this really cool thing. And here's someone that's like a working actress and maybe you're a little below. You're like, well, shit, I'll go to a little networking thing.
Right.
Which there was a lot of that stuff being an actress. There was a lot of things like that. I joke that, Scientology, I was like, God, maybe that'll teach me to do better in auditions, since Leah Remini and Jenna Elfman were booking, 20 pilots a year.
Right.
But there were also things, there was this thing called The Form when I was going, just starting to act. And it was like a Scientology light. It was like another thing where you take a bunch of classes and it's empowerment and it's not really religion, but it's a lot of money and it's a lot of Tuesday and Wednesday nights. Kind of motivational. Like, I don't know. Yeah. And I remember I had some weird manager that was like, you should do this. And I'm like, what are you getting out of this? I'm like, no. I'm like, this isn't even an acting class. No, it's like an empowerment, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. So Kelly's here. And what's the latest?
So the latest is the girl is facing up to 20 years in prison.
Allison Mack is facing up to 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. With an option of a cooperation deal that they don't have the status on of whether she's going to take it.
So with an option of a cooperation deal, which I'm sure she will.
Immunity, we won't go, yeah.
She'll probably do like 4 years in the end.
Right. Well, even that, if she's that's a cooperation deal. I mean, she's still doing time, but she's doing a lot less, and she's not facing what she could be facing.
Yeah, I mean, she clearly...
Well, it's almost like sometimes it's like these things. I only did this once, but I did this like 3-day kind of motivational seminar. And in the beginning, I really liked it. It made sense. But by the end, it was like they would never let you leave. It like would go on and on and on in hours. I'm like, I'm hungry. And like,
what was it called? Do you remember? How old were we?
No, I didn't do it with you. It wasn't, I hate to admit it wasn't that long ago, but I don't even remember. I just remember toward the end. And
multi-level marketing can be pretty culty. And there was just an amazing documentary on
LuLaRoe.
LuLaRoe is the name of the clothing company. It started in San Diego by this couple.
Okay.
And it's these really unattractive leggings, okay?
On a
with
multi-level.
all the, like, tops and shirts. It's all, like, elastic waist stuff, so it fits anybody. Right. And they really, like, appeal to, like, the stay-at-home mom that has no friends. And you can sell these things. You can have these parties.
Right.
And you can work from home. And, I mean, they're so ugly. I don't know how it made it. But I'd heard about it through Juicy Scoop Obsessed and people being like, oh, my God, what is this deal? So when I was in Philly, I was talking to this girl who's driving me around, and she goes, oh, my friend swears by it. I go, you got to watch this YouTube video that Vice TV did. And it was a little documentary about how these women, and they really did call it like, they felt like they were in a cult. They started to do, to sell the stuff. And then the way they would get them is their person above them would say, okay, so you're ready to sell now. You really got to have like 7 sizes of each product that sells. If you're going to sell it, you got to have this inventory.
Right.
So now you've bought $7,000 worth of ugly leggings and all the different patterns, all the different sizes. and you have it now you've taken up a room in your house.
Right.
And then you would start to sell it. But the person that's your leader will only get their bonus check, will only get their amount, not off how much you sell, but how much your
buy.
sales reps buy. So in the end, that's why they got investigated by the FBI or whoever, Better Business Bureau, because that does define a pyramid.
Right.
Multi-level marketing is not all bad. You know,
Yeah.
road and fields, people,
Right.
those type of things people love and do
they
great
well,
at.
yeah.
But because it was based on how much the person bought and not what they sold.
Right.
And then when they changed that rule, these leaders in it that were also being interviewed were like, "Oh my God, I was making like $30,000 a month,
Yeah.
and now I'm getting like $3 or
Because
something."
no one wants to buy these ugly things. Which
No, and then they were making so much of it because each
Yes.
person had to buy $7,000 worth that it would come from China or wherever it was being made in San Diego, and they didn't even have room for it, so it was out in these things, and it rained, and then they were getting sent leggings that were damp and mold and had holes in them, and they were showing them.
Oh my goodness.
And then they would be like, so then this one girl finally put like on her Facebook group, like, what's up with these moldy things? Like, that what I talked about. And the leader called up and, how dare you do that? You can't talk about that. You've got to always do this perception of that you're successful and you're making it and you sell it on Instagram and you have this great life. And then, so then she says the husband goes, she's like, oh my God, I don't know, I want to quit. He's like, just quit. And then the girl will be like, you can't quit.
Right.
You have, you're going to be a leader next. Like, it just kept going on. And finally, she goes, I finally wrote a letter, a statement that I was also going to post, of why I'm leaving because I don't think it's ethical and all of this. And she goes, and I gave the iPad to my husband to, I go, just read it through grammatically, make sure it's correct because before I send it, because then it means I quit. And he just wrote send. He's like, I'm fucking done with this fucking littler. Like, could you just imagine the husband? Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, there's a room or a house of moldy, ugly sweatpants.
Yeah, like, why? Let's just stop the nightmare.
We've lost a bedroom. We've lost thousands of dollars. And then, but what was so sad is this woman was like, these were all my friends.
Yeah.
I came here, they sought like military wives. They sought people that like, not only need to stay home with their kids, but wanted a career, but they also wanted friends.
Yeah.
So they would go to these things, and then they would, and then, this was the weirdest part of it. With the top leaders, so it did kind of appeal to people that were larger because it was like dusters and stuff.
Easy, comfortable.
But then, the more successful that the top tier people got, they were all like, we're getting lipo. We're getting lipo. Like, we're doing it, and we're going to this place in Mexico.
And then nothing fits, all the clothes.
Well, no, that wasn't it. But they kept bullying this one girl. They're like, if you're going to be the top tier, we want all the top tier people to be skinny.
Yeah.
You have to get, not lipo, you have to get gastric. You have to get gastric. And then she's just like, oh my God, I don't want to go to Mexico and like get this gastric thing. And they just are like, okay, we've got 2 more people that we can take to Mexico. Like, are you coming with us or not? Like, they were completely bullying. And then they all like got snatched and got skinny. And they still were like acting like they were wearing the ugly stuff. But like, it's crazy. Then the girl like got it and then she got sick from it because it wasn't done right. And,
oh my God, there's like so many stories in one.
I mean, it's just amazing, but it was really, they call it a cult because then the minute someone said, I'm not going to be selling it anymore, all the people that she made friends with, just like Scientology,
like
you were told not to talk to that person. You're not, how dare they speak badly about it? Again, Scientology, you're not to speak badly about it.
Right.
The minute you leave, nobody can talk to her anymore. I don't care that we went on a trip to Vegas and had inspirational speakers and had all these fun corporate things that people did. And
I mean, you do always kind of feel a little guilty, but like, I don't know if I ever, that would be crazy. But I do remember when I went to this motivational thing, and it wasn't probably more in the lines with a multi-level thing. Yeah. By the end, I remember everyone was getting more and more hyped. And then apparently the idea was, going after what you want. So this analogy thing was kind of like, grab a penny. Like they threw pennies, and who can get the first penny? And I was just like, I just want a glass of wine. Like, what are these people doing? Like, it was crazy to see these grown people just leaping into like the aisles for coins, pennies. And I'm like, I don't think this is my bag.
I remember I met this beautiful girl that worked. She was really pretty. She was a really pretty black girl. And she had gone to SC2, but I didn't know her. And she was working at Robinson's May with me in the training program. And we really hit it off. And her mom was like a top Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Right.
And I'm going to say right now, I've never heard anything bad about Mary Kay Cosmetics as far as selling it.
Yes.
Okay. Or anything. This is not, I'm not bagging on, but it is a multi-level marketing thing, but it's a successful one. So she's like, I'm quitting this job and I'm going to sell this stuff. And she was really pretty. And so I'm like, but back then, you know, again, you had to have like a whole room. She had like a whole room set up with all the products that she could sell. And I mean, you had to keep the inventory. You had to like go to people's houses and have the parties.
Right.
Now I think your rep, I don't even know how it works. I figure you could just order it online, but maybe there's a rep. I don't know. There's still a rep that like you go through.
You can still have parties, but you can
also
also do things online.
So she goes, you're going to go to this brunch with me Sunday. And it's Mary Kay. And it was like at this place. And all these women were there. And it was a speech. And it was all, God is first. Your husband is second. Your children is third. And then it's career. Or maybe it was God, family, and career. I think it was 3. I don't think it was 4. So it was God, your family.
Did we just bump the husband?
I think they wrapped the husband with the family.
With the family,
okay?
no, I know.
So God, family, career. Mm-hmm. If you believe that is the way you should live your life as a woman, that is what the Texas lady said, then this is for you. Like, this is for you. You can, and at the time, I'm like, oh my God, like maybe this could be me. And then, and I'm like, I do love God, and I love my family, and I don't really care about, because at the time I like hadn't started to like pursue comedy, so I just thought I might be like a Mary Kay rep. But I did think, God, this girl's really organized, and I'm not. Like, can you think of a worse career for me? Like, you have to be so organized.
You have to be so.
I mean, nothing,
and I'm not either. I'm really bad.
Nothing could be worse than me having like a room of inventory of like skin creams that I'm supposed to keep for people. And so she's like. So the woman comes over and she's so sweet, just like a Christian recruiter, just like so sweet. Who is this? I don't know. I should have Southern accent. I probably didn't, but like, I think it's just sweet. And then she goes, so what do you think? You're going to join us? And I go, yeah. And she goes, this is the rule. Enjoy the day. If you wake up in the morning and you're still thinking about it, then it's for you. And I was like, I woke up in the morning and I was still thinking about how it wasn't for me. And I was like, I guess it's not for me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was the closest I came. But I could see how it's just like when, like, any kind of church, like when people are recruiting you, even if it's just a normal church, it's so nice to be, like, wanted, like.
No, it is.
Like, won't you come to our ice cream social? I don't know. It's just.
Well, that's why I think it's kind of worse, because then they'll bring you all in. And then a lot of these people are not very good leaders.
Yeah.
So they are thrilled. They've got you in. You're the third of the third person, and now we're going to go to the next level or whatever it is. And then you never hear from them again. And you're like, well, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes.
Now I need some little guidance. And they think they're giving it to you. And then they get frustrated because they're like, well, I'm giving you the guidance. I thought you would be more motivated. Like, because they'll bring you in by saying, you know so many people and you're such a good networker and you could really bring in a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then when you don't, they're kind of like,
There's a lot that like stars are involved in.
Oh yeah.
And like it's not like it's ever all bad. It's just interesting. It's like very rare, and I feel like it's one of those things where you had to get on the ground floor usually if you're gonna make it. But
some people are just natural entrepreneurs, and it's like, depending on who you have in your group and what the product is, they're already building you a foundation. So if you're a natural entrepreneur and a marketer and a naturally organized person, it's very easy. If you like social media and you don't mind, like, in my opinion, taking these horrible selfie videos that are like never high enough up and they're like no makeup and they're talking
Who's doing that?
Everybody in a multi-level.
Oh.
Everybody.
Well, I just think about the poor girl that was selling these vitamin patches. And she's the one whose husband in Colorado killed her and put her 2 girls in
the Chris Watts thing.
In the oil thing. And that whole thing was show this life on Instagram that your life is perfect, that you have the perfect marriage, that you have the perfect kids, and it's all because you are your independent contractor, and it's these vitamin patches are not only giving you energy, but then you're selling them and making other people happier, and then meanwhile your husband's like bisexual and cheating on you and a murderer.
Oh, I didn't get the bisexual part.
Well, that wasn't totally found out, but there was a guy that did come out and definitely had receipts. I think he was a sex addict, but it was like they weren't going to also throw that in because they had they had all the hard evidence anyway, and he eventually, like admitted it, whatever. But when they were building the case against him, they had a solid girlfriend.
Right, I knew that.
That he was clearly after, that he, totally pursued. It had a major relationship with her too. But during that time, he was also screwing this gay kid. That it wasn't. I feel like they just didn't want to give him
even more attention.
Yeah, or they just were like, okay, we already have so much. We don't need to also touch that he's like a bisexual sex addict. But the stuff I read on it, I do think he was. I do think the kid was telling the truth.
Well, that's the word. That's actually such a horrific.
Oh, the worst.
Everything the worst, and also the fact that he, starts out by saying basically, I saw her strangling our daughter, and that's why.
He lied first to the and the parents are like,
yeah. The parents are like, okay, and then and so that's what you choose to. When you're trying to save your child and then they're not saved, that's what you're going to do. You're going to then put them in an oil vat. I don't know.
All right. Well, we're going to end this. Shannon. Now, Shannon's an attorney. She's out in the desert, the Coachella Valley. She's a criminal defense attorney, DUI, anything with
all criminal,
DMV, all criminal
defense,
but everything,
primarily DUI.
But everything. And also, she can refer you to anybody that you need for any other crime or any other kind of attorney you might need. She knows people that do everything and may know someone in your town that she could recommend. So always feel free to reach Shannon at michaelgoldstein.net.
Yeah.
That's right.
michaelgoldstein.net. That's the website.
That's the website. But
Michael Goldstein. My name really needs to be on this, but
then you'll see where to send an email, right?
Yeah. Okay. You can send an email there, and
or just or write me.
Yeah, and
if you don't remember,
you can
you're driving.
Me.
All right. Cool. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.